Okay, hi, I am Bailey McDaniel. This is my environmental symposium oral report. So I went to three oral lectures. The first one was by Timoteo Adendaju. She was a master's student, and her presentation was over the seasonal effects and dietary choices of insectivorous bats in a key biodiversity area in the southwest region of Nigeria. Her main question slash hypothesis was that this research was aimed to examine how seasonal changes influence the dietary preferences of insectivorous bats in southwest Nigeria, and she hypothesized that the different insect orders would dominate bat diets during wet and dry seasons. Her methods of research were that insectivorous bats were captured using mist nets, and fecal pellets were analyzed to identify the insect orders present in their diets during both the seasons. And her results and conclusion was that the bat diets did vary seasonally, and cockroaches dominated the dry season and flies in the wet season. Um, Her conclusion was that bats played a key role in pest control and consuming important pests in urban and rural areas. I thought this was important, and it surprised me how specific bat species prefer specific insect orders during different seasons. I think it's interesting that they're closely linked to seasonal dynamics of the environment. The second presentation I went to was from Sky Peterson. He was a PhD student. His was titled "The Effects of Pathogenic, nematodes and arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi on squash plant resistance to aphids." His main question slash hypothesis was that his study investigated how the combination of arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi and entomopathogenic nematodes affects squash plants' resistance to aphids, and he hypothesized that these mutualists could interact to enhance plant defense. His methods used were that his squash plants were inoculated with the AMF, EPNs, or both, and then exposed to aphids. The aphid population growth was measured for all three, and got to see the different plants' resistance. His results were that the combined inoculation resulted in the strongest resistance to aphids. And so that was his strategic method to enhance plant defense. I didn't expect that the mutualistic relationship between the two organisms was going to have such a positive impact on the plant defense. So I think that's important for leveraging pest control. The third and final one I went to was from Dalika Kariwasam. She was a master's student, and her title was Tracing Breeding Origins of Wintering Orange Crown Warblers Using Hydrogen Isotope Analysis. Her main question was that the study was aimed to identify the breeding origins of orange and crown warblers wintering in Mexico and the southern U.S., hypothesizing that hydrogen isotope analysis could reveal migratory connectivity between breeding and non-breeding populations. The methods she used for that feathers from warblers captured in the wintering sites were analyzed using hydrogen isotope analysis. The subspecies identified were confirmed through morphometric measurements from long-term banding data, and that showed that the study identified the diverse breeding origins across North America, and there's actually weak migratory connectivity, indicating that multiple populations do mix in shared wintering areas. Conclusion that it emphasizes that we need to protect these habitats because they do share multiple different species. Um, yeah, this was important because it shows that, with all the habitat loss, it's such a big issue, understanding that these different bird populations depend on specific regions during migration. You need to be more conscious, and we need to protect these natural areas to ensure that species will survive. Thank you.